Hey everybody, welcome. Thank you guys for joining us to our Ask Me Anything webinar with Peter Kearns. This is fun. We're going to kind of approach this as just a casual conversation. Peter and I talk quite a bit, so we have a pretty good rapport, pretty good relationship. Just having a conversation anyways. But go ahead, jump in the chat, start throwing any questions in there, and we're just going to take, the next hour and just take whatever questions you have. If you don't have any questions, then you can just listen to Peter and I talk for a little bit, and then we'll say goodbye. But I'm going to start off and let Peter kind of introduce himself.
Yeah.
So Peter, go ahead, say hello. And
hello, everyone. Thanks, Kate, for having me. This is always a lot of fun. I really like talking about Amazon and brands and selling on Amazon. I've been doing this for a while. I've been in e-commerce for almost 8 years, all with Amazon. My first 4 years was with Amazon. So I ran a team there on the seller services side, overseeing consumables, health and personal care, beauty, baby, grocery. Basically, we worked with launching new brands, new resellers onto the marketplace, and then account managing them as quickly as possible. So understanding the brands, understanding the current position of the brand on Amazon, and then creating and executing a strategy. So I did that, oversaw a team, did that for about 4 years, and then left Amazon and have been consulting with brands for the last almost 4 years also. So basically, I've been doing the exact same thing. Only one was wearing my Amazon hat, and now I'm wearing my, consultant Amazon expert hat. And the nice thing, and it's a little different about not being associated with Amazon, even though I still work really closely with them, is just being able to have really good, candid conversations about what a brand is really doing and what is happening with the brand on Amazon. And so while having that Amazon knowledge has been incredibly helpful, it's kind of nice having that and then having the real world Amazon knowledge. So, now that I'm gone, I'm also a seller too. So I also have, my hands in that arena. So, not only was I an expert, but I've also been a seller and still selling and have a good understanding of what's going on there. And then with 180 Commerce, I've been with 180 Commerce for about 2 years. I had my own consulting and then merged it with 180 Commerce, a startup that really connected with them right out of the gate. And they're just a great company. And so I was like, heck yeah, let's merge, join forces. And basically what 180 was a third-party seller that was acquired by a large retail company that wanted to get into the Amazon marketplace. So Jason Stumpfeg, our founder, decided to use that opportunity to exit and create 180 Commerce because he really felt like brands needed an agency that really understands what's going on with Amazon. It had the brand's best interests at heart, not just Amazon's. So what we do at 180 is we offer complete consulting where we come in and help brands understand what's going on with their business and then create a strategy, and then we can execute that strategy. We have a full brand management team. It's all based in Carlsbad, California. We do complete seller central management or vendor central management. So it's an end-to-end solution, listing creation, optimization, FBA planning, customer service, reviews, paid search. We also have a back-end tech stack that allows us to pull data in and have a really good understanding of inventory levels, inventory strategy, but also consumer behavior. So really understanding how the consumers are acting, which I think is really important as brands start to get more and more in depth with their Amazon business and starting to truly understand what's going on with their Amazon business. Brands need to have that kind of data to be able to make good, informed decisions.
Cool. Thanks, Peter.
Sure.
So again, you guys just throw all questions. Peter hasn't told me anything's off topic, so
no, we can talk about anything. And I'll be honest, I either know the answer or I don't. And if I don't, I'm not afraid to tell you that I don't.
Yeah. So we'll start with Daniel. Hey, everyone. Hi, Daniel. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. He says, and this is actually something that came up just this weekend. We've had an issue with fake reviews.
Yeah.
Why doesn't Amazon take down people who are so clearly breaking the rules and have hundreds of fake reviews? Daniel, I feel your pain. So, Peter, give us your knowledge.
So it's a really good question. I mean, these are all going to be really good questions, I'm sure, and I'll probably say it's a really good question 100 times. So forgive me in advance. Um, it's a challenging thing. So when you think about what's going on with Amazon, there are millions of third-party sellers. There's probably about 100 to 200, maybe it's more like 300,000 or 400,000 really good 3P sellers now, but there are millions of other sellers on there. And one of the biggest challenges for Amazon is there are a lot of really good sellers. There's a lot of bad apples, as Amazon will describe them. And so finding the bad apples in a sea of sellers requires really good technology. So they have to have that machine learning technology to be able to basically crawl the behavior of the sellers and then to be able to react against it. And they have to have good machine learning so that they can do it so that they know that they're pinpointing the bad sellers and not the good sellers. And unfortunately, sometimes those bad sellers are able to move quicker than Amazon's algorithms and machine learning are able to react. And so it's really difficult to get that bad apple taken down. The challenge with it is that Amazon doesn't have a good system for for other sellers to be able to report bad, apples, if you will. And that's really frustrating because there are oftentimes when a good seller is seeing a bad seller do this kind of behavior, there used to be a community rules violation where you could file a violation that way. But one of the challenges is that there is so much anti-competitive behavior between sellers that, you could be a seller that's seeing another seller and you're filing, these cases against them. And then the seller could come back and say, well, actually, no, these were real reviews and you're damaging our business. So it's a really difficult position for Amazon to be in because of the large scale size of the marketplace and the number of sellers and the self-service technology that's there. So a lot of those really complicate, a lot of those sellers that have this kind of technology that's there to be able to manipulate the platform in a way it can move quicker than Amazon can react to. And it was even something that was incredibly frustrating when I was there. Like I would see things as an Amazon employee and like, hey, this is wrong. And there were times when I had to escalate and go up, 3 or 4 levels to someone's manager and then director to get action on.
Do you see Amazon being able to make huge leaps and strides at some point in the near future to really get ahead of the issues, or do you think it's just going to kind of continue to be a problem until maybe Walmart's the next big marketplace or something? I don't know.
Walmart, Target. Both Walmart and Target are gaining share on Amazon. I think that's not necessarily because of the situation. I think that tends to be because of Walmart and Target's brick and mortar footprints and their click and collect. I think those are really good technologies. We can table that later. So is Amazon going to get out in front of it? I think they're trying really hard. I know people on those teams. I think that the situation is really, really big, and I think it's really a mess. I don't have data around it because I'm not there anymore, and so I'm speculating. But when I look at what's happening, and I think that the true solution or one of the true solutions would be to put the control in the hands of the brand owners. So the brand owner has the ability to control which reviews get posted and which ones don't. Same with brand owners having the ability to control who does and doesn't sell the product. So, if Amazon gated every brand like right now, a lot of these problems would go away. But then that would like stifle the Amazon flywheel, which is really, what Amazon has been able to use to propel their sales and really create the marketplace to be what it is today. But the reality of it is what the marketplace is today isn't what was created, 10 years ago. 5 years ago. So I think that they're working hard. I think that they're still going to have a big challenge as long as sellers can self-service and register new accounts. I think that that's going to be an issue that's going to continue to be a challenge for Amazon and the sellers and the consumers, because ultimately they're the ones that get hurt the most, because you can't trust the reviews anymore. And so that's a big challenge.
All right, let's move on to Chris. Hey, Chris, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
If we are having trouble getting off of suspension, sorry about that, what's the best course of action?
Oh, boy. Well, without knowing anything about the situation for your account, the best course of action is to really dive deep into your business and understand what caused the root cause of the problem. So if you were suspended for performance, ODR, order defect rate, where you cancel the order before it ships, it's not just enough to say, oh, well, we had an order defect rate problem and now we fixed it and now you should reinstate our selling privileges. You've got to go upstream and really help Amazon understand what caused the root cause of the order defect rate. So one of the things I talked about is the 5 whys. So whatever the situation is, first and foremost, you got suspended. Why did you get suspended? Well, reason number 1. Okay, well, why did reason number 1 happen? Okay, so then why did reason number 2 happen? Okay, why did reason number 3? So you go to the 5 whys. So you answer these 5 whys, going all the way upstream to understand that the problem for the situation was X, and this is what we have done to rectify that problem, and therefore, it's not going to happen again. So understanding your business, really understanding the metrics behind the ASIN performance, return rates, shipping metrics, everything that's going on is really important. And that's probably the best way. And then when you're writing an appeal, 2-pager. So Amazon communicates everything via written form. So there's no PowerPoint presentations. Everything's done, via email or 2 or 6-page docs. So really what you want is a very, very short, very concise, factual presentation of the situation. So get in and get out quickly. And so, this was the situation, this was the root cause, this was the results of that, this is the action that we've taken, and these are the things that we can, that we've done to prevent it from happening, and you can feel confident that it's not going to happen again. If this was the first time, if it's the second time for the same thing, that's going to be tough. Not impossible.
Right. Yeah, suspension. Well, and suspension too, you've really got to make sure you can you can understand Amazon language, because it's often sometimes like talking to an angry wife a little bit. like they tell you the problem, but they don't actually tell you the problem, if that makes sense. Sorry, that's a really bad example and stereotype, but I'm also a wife, so I also know that I do that too.
That's okay. I think it's important. I think it is important to recognize that there are breakdowns in communication. And which is often, one of the core reasons why something is going on or why you're not able to get your account reinstated. And so a couple of things. One, everything that Amazon does is based on their leadership principles. So you can Google Amazon leadership principles. There's 14 of them. I haven't checked. They may have changed them. But, so you can take those leadership principles and you can see, did you take ownership of a situation, which is one of leadership principles, bias for action, you didn't do anything, you basically sat on your hands and you let this thing continue to go on. You weren't customer obsessed. So if you understand those leadership principles to a degree that you're going to be able to run your business better, and you can, communicate that into your appeal, it's going to be helpful. If you did anything in terms of review manipulation or any kind of fraud or anything like that, tough, man. That's a tough one.
All right. And we don't encourage any sort of black, even gray hat. I don't
get behind any of that.
I don't mind talking about black hat. I think it's very important to understand what the bad guys are doing, but I do not encourage it.
No, you can't.
Okay, Maddie, what should we do until PD? I'm assuming you mean Prime Day. I'm so through Prime Day. Sales almost stopped, spending a lot on PPC with no results since the beginning of June. Keep on advertising, change something. What advice do you have for Maddie here?
Yeah, Maddie, it's an interesting comment because you're not alone. I've talked to a lot of brands and resellers in the last couple of weeks who have shared similar sentiments in that sales were just cruising, and then June rolled around and everything kind of came to a halt. There's a couple of things. First dive into the data around your performance. So, and have a good understanding of what's your sessions and what's your conversion rate. Know that week over week, month over month. So are you seeing a decrease in sessions, the traffic to your listings, or are you seeing a decrease in conversion? And so understanding it at an ASIN level, I think is really important. If you can get granular, so typically 80% of your revenue is going to come from 20% of your catalog. So if you're selling 100 listings, you've got 20 that are going to be driving the bulk of that revenue. Find out what's going on with that 20 first and foremost. I would suspect that a lot of it has to do with we've had a pretty good year. A lot of things are happening. We just came out of Mother's Day, graduation, dads and grads, that end of season. And I think that it's that kind of quiet, and people aren't shopping as much, is my guess, is without being able to look specifically at what's going on in your business. But I've talked to a number of businesses and brands and retailers that are seeing the same sort of thing. And I think that there's probably this kind of lull right before Prime Day ramps up and back to school.
And that's kind of one of the reasons why Amazon started Prime Day. It was kind of a
Christmas in July.
Yeah, get rid of inventory, create this Christmas in July. This is typically a slow retail month. People aren't, people aren't shopping. You still have your phone with you, but you may not be shopping on it as much as you typically are. Or you're taking more time off, so you're not wasting time at work shopping on Amazon.
I remember when Prime Day launched, so I was there at Amazon, the spring of 2015, and it was one of these things where it was super top secret, and we were trying to recruit brands and sellers into FBA to create these listings and these deals for a secret event, and we basically described it as Christmas in July. And a lot of it was, how do we create this kind of shopping experience in what is arguably the quietest time of the year.
Mm-hmm. So hopefully Prime Day will hit, and that'll give you kind of a bump, and that'll help you sleep better at night.
Unfortunately, but dig into the metrics. Understand what's happening with your brand or your business. Where's the traffic going? What's happening?
All right, let's move on to we have noticed a significant uptick in error rates on fulfilling multi-channel fulfillment orders, long delays, lost orders not even being picked up by the carriers from FBA warehouses. Oh, that sucks. Is that something other people are seeing? Is Amazon interested in continuing to support the MPF business? Yeah,
so I can't really get deep into that. It's not an area that I've got a ton of experience with, multi-channel fulfillment. I know it's one of those things that has always been something that they've offered, but it's every year, at least when I was there, was one of those things where we're like, do we keep doing this or not? It was never really supported internally when I was there. It was a team of one that was basically overseeing it underneath the FBA umbrella. So it's tough. I wish I could get into it in more granular kind of things. I think that FBA continues to be really important for Amazon, and the metrics are there. Seller fulfilled Prime is really important, but multi-channel fulfillment, depending on if you're fulfilling for your own website or because it was being used or was available for like Walmart and off Amazon, eBay and stuff like that, but you can't do that anymore. You're not supposed to. So I don't know if it's going to be something that they're going to continue to support or not. I think depending on where you're going and the direction that the brands are going and what Amazon's trying to do for brands, perhaps. But I can't really give you a good answer. I'm sorry.
There are several. There's several different fulfillment networks that you might want to look into. I don't have relationships with any of them, but there's Deliverer, there is a former Amazonian that co-founded that.
Nice.
And they are working, they just barely opened Amazon fulfillment. So you can do merchant fulfilled Prime through their network. Deliverer, that's deliver with 2 R's. So if you can spell deliver, you can spell that. And then also I saw that Shopify recently announced that they are going to be offering 2-day shipping. So those are a couple ideas for you, Art, to maybe at least look into that might help you out a little bit. I know the Walmart Amazon relationship when it comes to fulfillment and FBA is not great. So maybe look into. I would say start with Deliverer. I've spoken with their founders; they're good people. If you care about working with good people or not,
right.
Look at Shopify too. So just some of my own. Not that you asked me, but
no, it is good. I mean, this is one of those programs. I think that one, it's you hardly hear about it. At least I don't hear about it very often. And so, if Amazon were to pull the plug and it was significant for your business, I would want to have I wouldn't be comfortable at night thinking that was the only thing I had. I would have a backup that I could execute against at the drop of a hat should Amazon pull the plug on something like that, or it continues to fail. Like it sounds like it's not doing a very good job for what you're trying to accomplish. So having a solution for that makes a lot of sense.
All right, let's move on. Dylan. Hey, Dylan, thanks for being here. Brand registered here. Good for you.
Nice.
Why does Amazon take my product updates, bullet points, description, etc.? Says that it has to take into account all contributors, but other 3P sellers don't add value. I'm literally like pulling teeth to get product updates. So sorry, dude.
So let me make sure I understand. Brand registered, trying to update content that I'm guessing was existing content since we're trying to update it.
Maybe Dylan, do you want to clarify? Maybe
did Amazon, if Dylan is still listening, can you clarify if Amazon Retail had any contributions? Were you ever selling it to Amazon Retail, or was it being sold to Amazon Retail from a distributor or something like that?
He says, yep.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start up here, and then we'll try to get down and get to Dylan's situation. Sounds frustrating. So the way that Amazon content is created is using reconciled data. Every contributor has a reconciliation score, or they at least used to. So if an Amazon Retail had the highest reconciliation score, so all of these sellers below it then would have a score. And then as a third-party seller, as you continue to gain trust with Amazon, so you went from merchant fulfilled to FBA, and then you hit a certain sales threshold, and you hit a certain seller rating and stuff like that, your contribution score would also increase. So then you could start being the one that's contributing to it. So the catalog is created from that place where they're pulling multiple content information from multiple sources. So and Amazon Retail has the highest contribution. If you're trying to update content that is formally contributed by Amazon Retail and you're going through brand registry now, it's a really challenging situation. When we met with the brand registry team a while ago, they still didn't have a path to green on how to have that content overwritten. So sometimes it's really a case of continuously opening cases with the seller support team to get the content done, the seller brand registry team. Sometimes if you still have that vendor account through Vendor Central, you go in and make the vendor the contents through there. But again, that's not necessarily the best thing because then Amazon's the one that's contributing to it. So in most cases, when you're writing and you're escalating, you really need to do it from a consumer perspective. So most times, by the time you've sent content updates in and it's not there, you've sent them in again and it's not there, and the third time now you're like, what the heck? Why isn't my content taking? And now you're opening cases, and now you're frustrated, and you're like, this is a bad seller experience. Well, while Amazon does say that they take, pay attention to seller experiences, they're quicker to react to a bad consumer experience than they are to a bad seller experience. So if you can shift the focus away from you in terms of like, hey, my content's not doing well, this is bad for my brand, and shift it to, hey, the content is wrong and it's bad for your consumer, and these are the reasons why, then I would, that tends to get a little, I don't want to say taken more seriously, but it does have a little bit more emphasis and a little bit more urgency when it is a consumer's perspective that's being, our consumer experience is being impacted by it. So, that's the first thing I would be doing, is shifting the dialogue around how you're opening cases and what you're trying to do to get that content overridden. There have been times when it's not possible. Like, we haven't been able to get some content updated because of the Amazon contribution, and it's incredibly frustrating. And so it's to the degree where we've gone in and actually updated content through Vendor Central for those, and then just attached to it, built shell ACEs and stuff. So it's a case-by-case basis, though, and that's the thing that I don't understand. Is like, why does it work for some and not for others? So I would be really pushing on that. Make sure that your ticket is routed to the right team, that it's with the catalog team, and that it's been actually moved, and it's to the right people that you should be talking to, and not not another just a random seller performance team. And usually the catalog team, I think they're based in the U.S., so I would do that also. And then I'm sure you're opening tickets. Hopefully you're opening tickets via email. But that's the other thing is when there's always a really good way to do this. If you do a chat or a phone call, they're not taking they're not taking notes. So when you open a case, there's kind of a process. The first one is always open your case via email through Seller Central, because there you've got all the information, and you can write it out very clearly, very factual, very like, this is the situation, these are the things. And then you can follow up via chat or via phone call, and then they can read everything that's going on. And the thing that's nice is that if that case does have to get transferred to another team, then that the information in that case will carry with it. Whereas if you call and then they're taking some notes and then it gets transferred, you're relying on the associate on the phone who's taking notes to accurately depict what you're saying and then get it transferred. So take some time, do some of that due diligence in the beginning, and then open those cases and push on it. It's frustrating though.
It's always reassuring when you're like, oh man, this is something we struggle with too. It's kind of nice to know that you're not successful at everything, and that these issues that we sellers deal with is something that you also deal with. So.
Yeah, there's no. That's the thing. I mean, every situation is different, and I've talked to a lot of brands and resellers over the years, and some will be like, oh well, do this and this and this, and you get your content cleared up, and then some will come up and be like, I did this, and this, and nothing works. So it can be a really challenging situation. Typically, what's going on is there's something in the back end. And you've got to find the right associate at Amazon who can actually use the tools to see what's going on. They used to have this tool that could look at the ASIN. I don't know if it's still there, but you could look at the ASIN and you could actually see when it was created, like the second it was created, who was creating it, who was contributing what data points. So this seller, this Amazon Retail was contributing the title, and this seller was contributing the bullet points, and this seller was contributing the description. And then you could see like this seller dropped off, and so you could actually see exactly where everything was coming from. And one of the challenges, and I think it's important to recognize, is that Amazon's massive. I mean, they have hundreds of thousands of employees. They have millions of sellers. They have millions and millions of customers. They have billions of products, and it's hard to support that. And so while I'm saying, like, give Amazon a little bit of a break, I'm basically, it's very possible that you have people that don't know what the path is to solve this thing. And so don't be afraid to push back, and don't be afraid to escalate. I mean, I've had that where I've been on the phone, where I've talked to, this is a couple of years ago, where I talked to an associate and I said, actually, there is a I can't remember the acronym for it, but a ticketing system, and there's usually codes for the tickets, and you can find out exactly what it was. And so on the phone with the Amazon associate, I said, actually, do you mind looking up my alias? I gave him my email address when I was at Amazon, and they were able to find the ticket that I had opened while I was an associate, and then they could clone that for that specific situation and resolve it. So it is possible that the situation is that somebody just doesn't know. And that they're not sure that the path for how to go about escalating it to get the knowledge. So, be diligent, be kind and respectful, but be very factual and push back. That's how I would pursue that.
All right, we're gonna jump to reviews. I love talking reviews.
Yeah, reviews are a situation, man.
This is from Jay, and this is actually one of my favorite topics about reviews because I think there's a lot of creativity and a lot of room to kind of grow your brand, and you can't take reviews from Amazon, but you can kind of grow a little bit off Amazon too, to kind of further your perspective that customers might have of you. But Jay is wondering how to effectively and safely get reviews, and I'm going to follow up with, what the heck is going on with Amazon Vine?
Yeah. You have a story you want to share with Amazon Vine?
No, I'm just waiting. When is it going to be available for all? But anyways, how do you, what is your best advice for getting reviews effectively and safely?
Reviews, man, they're so important, and it's really frustrating. If anyone from Amazon is on this and listening, please get a good review program for 3P sellers. Take the Vine beta out of beta that was in beta in 2017. Let's take that out of beta and launch it, because I can guarantee that there's a few, tens of hundreds of thousands of brand owners that would use it. Reviews are so important. We all know it. And I think that it's really frustrating because over the years, Amazon has tied the hands of brand owners because of, again, those bad apples who kind of manipulate the situation. And so I think a couple of things you can do. This comes back to your overall Amazon strategy. Selling on Amazon alone is not enough anymore. You have to have an e-commerce site that you're capturing consumer data and their email address, and you have to have social media, Facebook and Instagram being the key, especially depending on the product that you're selling, that you're able to connect to a true and engaged following, because you need to be able to have those levers, those tools in your toolbox to pull so that you can do things like request reviews. So there's nothing wrong with sending an email blast out requesting that somebody leave a review. There's absolutely nothing wrong for you to say, like if you've got an email list of 25,000 subscribers who bought your product on your website, you can send them an email that says, hey, we really appreciate you being a consumer. If you could, even if you didn't buy the product on Amazon, if you could take a minute to leave the product a review, we'd really appreciate it. Key here is you want to do a couple of things. The language in the email blast or the Facebook blast or the Instagram post has to be very, very benign. It can't be, if you loved our product, leave us a 5-star review. If you had problems with our product, call us. If you loved our product, leave us a 5-star review. If you had problems with our product, leave us a 1-star review. So, you can't go in that kind of language. You've got to just have it really basic and just say, like, we would really appreciate it if you could take a minute to leave a product review. So you can do that via post-purchase through Amazon using, some of the third-party tools that allow you to email the consumer post-purchase. Again, you have to be careful. You have to make sure that the Amazon customer hasn't opted out, so that they're, opting out of only, order essential communications. And again, you've got to be really careful that you're not doing something that is, going to aggravate or disrupt the customer in a way that they're going to complain. You can use the early reviewer program through Amazon, which I don't know. I don't think I think you get similar kinds of results from regular reviews, so probably 2 to 3%, but it's expensive. So if you're running a product that's relatively inexpensive and you take in the Amazon referral fee, the FBA fee, the advertising, budget, and then the early reviewer program fees, and if you're doing any kind of coupons or promotions, I mean, it quickly eats into the margin. But it's key. You've got to have that. And so you've got to be able to get that kind of review. So using those tools, but doing it very smart, in a very smart and strategic manner is important. Always check everything before you send anything out. Also, give it a sniff test. Have somebody, pressure test it in the sense that says like, hey, does the language in here vibe? Does it seem like we're being too intrusive? Could Amazon's, algorithms pick up on some of this language, thinking that you're trying to manipulate the consumer into giving them a review or offering some sort of incentive? Because you can't do that in any way, shape, or form. So ask for a review, but be sensible about it.
All right. I'm going to move on to, I think, Simcha. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. Forgive me. But I just like their question's more of like a comment, but I'm gonna throw it out there anyway. If they would axe all the bad actors, they lose a ton of money.
Right? Wouldn't they lose a ton of money? Yeah, I mean, I don't have probably. When you look at what they're making on the referral fee, and there's more units shipped third party than there are third party FBA than Amazon retail, and that emphasis there. So you've got to look at it from a perspective of, I mean, Amazon is this massive company that has the ability to get incredibly granular with its data. You would think that it would be able to say like, okay, we know what to do, and this is the situation. Let's rip the Band-Aid off and take care of it. It's tough. So I don't know. I mean, I would think that if they, could look at this and could remove all the bad apples. Again, though, I think it's those bad apples can move really quick, especially those ones that are overseas. I mean, they're doing some stuff that's really, 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 scary sometimes, and how quick that they're able to adjust to what's going on. It's why Amazon's terms of service are so vague. Review manipulation or platform manipulation. I mean, that's a pretty vague thing. So they have to have it because those, they're out there running faster than Amazon is because it's such a big company.
Yeah, and if you have not felt the influence of black hat sellers, consider yourself lucky.
Yeah, but I do think that it's having. I think it's having an impact. I think Amazon has some challenges, and I'm a big fan of Amazon. I have been for a long time, but I'm not afraid to point out, being vocally self-critical of the company, being a former Amazonian, and, the reviews and fake products on there, that's a problem. I mean, I had to buy headphones this morning, and I went to Best Buy because I, felt a little bit more confident that the product I was going to get was authentic. And, oh, by the way, I could pick it up from the location in 15 minutes. So I literally, drive by the Best Buy on my way to work. So I placed the order. I got a text message while I was on my way to work, pulled in, grabbed them, and I had them. So I think that there are some challenges from that perspective, and I think Amazon, but I also think Amazon has some bigger challenges with the lack of a brick and mortar footprint. I think they're feeling the pain there, and so wouldn't be surprised if you're seeing something later this year or next year around a large brick and mortar footprint that Amazon rolls out.
All right, next question comes from Rex. If you were choosing a new product to offer on Amazon, what category would you be willing to invest in? This is a great question for you.
This is a really good question, and it's actually one that I thought about today in preparation for today's webinar. First, Rex is a great name. It's my grandfather's name. I absolutely love it. So that's, what category would I be? Was that the question exactly? What category? Can you repeat it?
Yes. What category would you be willing to invest in?
Willing to invest in. So first, it's not category anymore. It's subcategory. I think, you can't be like, oh, I'd go into health and personal care, because health and personal care is so wide, or grocery is so wide, sports and outdoors. So you got to get narrow into it. I think you have to recognize a couple of things. most of these categories have been pretty well built out from three sources, really. Amazon self-service, so entrepreneurs both in the US and overseas that have recognized there's a great opportunity here, and so they come to the marketplace and they launch and they list products. Amazon has a recruiting team that's actively going out there and looking for gaps in selection, like myself. That's what I did, and my team, and so we actually, we went out and brought them in, and then you've got brands that are existing on here that have been here for a while, legacy brands who are trying to make it, and go live themselves in these smaller areas. And so I think what you want to be looking at is, first, what do you know is really important. So what kind of products are you really good with? And you want to be looking for areas of opportunity in products, categories that have underperforming products, or products that have, low amount of reviews or poor reviews, and being able to come to the market to be able to fill that gap. I still think there are some areas that are underserved on Amazon. Sports and outdoors is a great area, but you've got to be smart about what you're getting into with sports and outdoors, because that's so big, right? Sleeping bags, backpack, tents, really challenging because they're big and bulky. So, but could you do a good job with that? I mean, backpack and tent and sleeping bag technology is getting lighter and smaller, so there's an opportunity there, maybe. But the thing is do you know that space? And would you be able to recognize and create a product that is better than, and not like leaps and bounds better, but it's just like 10% better than what's already out there. I think another area that I would be looking at is grocery. So when you look at the size of the grocery market that's off Amazon, that's off e-commerce, we're talking billions of dollars that are slowly migrating from brick and mortar to digital. Here's the thing about grocery. You got to make sure it's not perishable, because you're going to triple the cost to get it there overnight in a styrofoam, frozen container. Look out for glass jars, because glass is really expensive. It's heavy. So, and the thing that's interesting about this is a lot of these traditional CPG brands aren't recognizing the need to shift from traditional grocery store products to an e-commerce product. And so while, yes, the packaging of a jar is much more attractive than the packaging in a plastic bottle, the plastic is going to weigh less. And so it's going to be something that you could launch through FBA more likely than not. So you want to be looking at that price point. A lot of people tend to gravitate towards lower priced items. I don't really like lower priced items. I like a middle price, 30, 40, 50. It helps create a moat a little bit around it, because you're going to see less people who are going to try to get in on that space, because it's going to require a greater investment. But really what you want to be looking at is, what's the competitive landscape for whatever category that you're going into, subcategory specifically. Watch the movers and shakers. So Amazon publishes the movers and shakers on the Amazon.com, so you can see the swings in products in the 24-hour period and see who's in there. Find the products that you're looking for and see what's in the top 100, and find out, what are they doing? What are the reviews? How many of them are there? What's the price points? What's the FBA fees? And really understand the unit economics around it is really important. And build in a big ad budget, because you're going to need to be able to spend money on advertising to be able to get products launched and discovered. It's just the competitiveness around it is too much now. And then you also look at your social media and look at how you're going to be able to connect with consumers in a way that's going to gravitate towards you, have levers to pull for driving off Amazon traffic to your listings and really influencing your own flywheel for your brand.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's jump to Maddie. Is there a way to avoid other sellers' videos on my page? I have some using my own brand name and product titles, and Amazon does nothing about it, even though I've reported it to them many times.
Interesting. So brand registry, are you brand registered? Can we ask the follow-up question?
Let's see. Maddie, will you jump on real quick? Let us know, are you brand registered? All right, Maddie, if you're still on follow-up, let us know.
So if you're brand registered, then they're infringing on your intellectual property by using your brand name, using your copyrighted, videos and stuff like that. You should be able to use brand registry to get those cases, resolved. The other thing that I think is really interesting is that, you see a lot of brands who have this situation where they're going to Amazon and they're like, Amazon, you need to take care of this. And the reality of it is Amazon's just the platform for selling the product. Whereas what you need to do is you need to eliminate Amazon. So find out who this person is and then contact them, that way. And that can be difficult sometimes because they are, hiding behind the wall of Amazon. But those sorts of things are happening. I know that there's a pilot going on internally with the brand registry tool, that they're looking at situations when cases failed. So that's something that is really important for them, for when brand registered, brand owners who have gone through brand registry aren't getting resolution. So they are looking at that right now a little more granularly than they have in the past. And that's something that is, if you're not brand registered, then you're not going to be able to do anything. If you are brand registered and Amazon's not doing anything, then, I would escalate that like there's no tomorrow. And I would get a lawyer involved.
All right. I'll let you know if he pops up with a follow-up. Daniel, I caught a lost pallet from over 9 months ago. The rules are if after 9 months you're out of luck. Any way to get around this?
Yeah, so it's tough. You could try to escalate. And this is where I think Amazon's failing in a lot of ways because you've got associates who are just like, this are the rules and you can't do it. I actually bought a couch, an Amazon branded couch, and I bought it. It was like $700. And then a couple minutes after I bought it, it dropped like $630. And I was like, $70, that's a pretty good discount in a matter of minutes, right? And so I contacted Amazon. And they're like, oh, well, we don't do price adjustments. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that's kind of silly. I understand not doing a price adjustment on, a third-party marketplace, but this is your own brand. And they said, well, you can return it because it's already been marked as shipped, which I thought was pretty impressive. It's a couch. They're like, you can return it and you can buy it again and return it. We'll credit you. I'm like, you're telling me I can return a couch? And no, that's ridiculous. And so I pushed back and escalated, and they still said no. So I think that in this situation, it's tough. 9 months, if it's really close to the cutoff, I would push back and I would try to escalate. I would try to get somebody on the phone. So open a ticket. And if you have the ticket open beforehand, I think that that's even more helpful. So you go to the case history of the ticket and surface it from that perspective. But 9 months, and I know that's the cutoff. I wouldn't, I think that the situation with Amazon with so many sellers is that they're probably not going to make an adjustment.
Okay. All right, John, he's wondering if you can speak to placement algorithm. Simply put, is the Amazon algorithm optimizing the uplifts in their own favor across top of page and product pages? Good one.
Yeah. Hi, John. Do we know each other? That's a challenging thing. So I think that was happening. I think that that's something that has shifted a little bit, though. So last year, at around this time, a colleague of mine who's also named John, he and I started talking about how we were seeing so much search seeding for Amazon private label brands, where you would put in, particular products, and here would be the paid search, and then right below that would be Amazon's own brands in multiple facets. And so that started to ramp in last year, and really I saw it starting to go from consumer CPG categories to all other categories. Since then, I've started to see it decrease, and I don't see it much anymore. And I think that there's a couple of things that are going on in the back end. I don't want to speculate, but I think that, one, the catalog right now and the search experience on Amazon is really muddy. There's a ton of stuff, like you put something in and here's all this search ads and here's all this private label stuff, and you're just trying to find like the one thing. So I think that they're probably focusing on that. I think that there's an emphasis there's a lot of talk in the media about breaking up Amazon. There's politicians who are out there saying you have to choose, either be the seller or the manufacturer. You can't be both. And so there may be things going on around search, because if you think about, like, okay, Amazon controls the platform, and then they can also control the search with the paid search, and then they control the data around the actual selling of the product. So there's a lot of sensitivities or there's some people that think there's a lot of sensitivities around that. So I think that I saw an increase in that, and then I've seen a decrease in it with the search in the last couple of months. And so I would think that there would be a decrease around that as brands continue to also put money into advertising. They're not going to be like, hey, I just spent millions of dollars with you, and you're search seeding your own product against mine. So I think there's a lot of sensitivities around that.
All right, so we've got about 10 minutes left. We're going to try to breeze through, not breeze through, but we're going to try to get all the questions in that we can.
Okay, 10 minutes, rapid fire.
So, Simcha, any specific product launch strategies that you want to share?
Yeah, product launch strategies are really interesting now because, to be truthful, like we at 180, we love working with brands, but if you're not coming to the market, and we love launching new brands, if you're not coming to the marketplace with a good 6 to 12 month strategy around paid search and around social, you're going to have a really difficult time creating sustainability around the traffic around it. There's some services out there that I think can get you on the page one for a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks, but then you start to see that tail off really, really quickly. So I think, the first thing is, at the core, if you're launching a new product, first and foremost, have an incredibly high standard. Why is your product better than your competition? And if there are any areas that you think it misses, it's going to get exploited. So take the time to fix that first and foremost. Have a good following. You've got to be able to have levers to be able to say, like, hey, we're now on Amazon and you can buy our product. And you don't need to do that forever. You just need to do it a few times, because that's going to help drive, the Amazon algorithm to say, like, hey, here's outside traffic coming to these listings. Consumers are looking at the product, they're engaging, putting it in their wish list, adding it to the cart, purchasing it. We must need, the algorithms are then going to say, hey, this is something we should continue to surface. So you've got to have those tools. It's not enough to just pay to get to page one. I mean, you can do it, but it's going to be expensive, $30,000, $40,000 a month. And you're going to need to be able to sustain it. And the challenge with that is, it's just like, are you actually creating a long-term consumer who's connected with you, or are you just buying page one and getting them to buy it and you're never buying it again? So launch strategy, make sure it's a good product, really, really have high standards, have off Amazon levers that you can pull, and then build a good 6 to 12 month strategy around advertising.
Cool. All right, Stacy, we are new to FBA. When an item is in reserve, it seems to be in reserve mode for well over a week. Is this normal? Additionally, when it states in the pull down that there is a customer order, is it stating that it is in transit still to the customer?
Yep. So if it's in reserve, it's being transshipped. So it's checked in and it's been going from one FC facility to another. You're not paying for that. The ASIN should be active. It's just it'll say, you can purchase it, but it won't ship out until July 5th. Like, I bought a product yesterday that's not shipping out until July 5th. It's Prime badged. So my guess is that it's been checked in, but it's, you're seeing a backlog because it's PD. Is that what they said? PD, Prime Day. So we're a couple, 2 weeks away. So it's active. Then you can see customer reserve. So products that are getting put into customer reserve. So that's technically what Amazon's doing, is they're actually vetting the customer. So there's some checks and balances going on the back end to make sure that this customer's, purchasing it and like fraud checking it and stuff like that.
All right, Simcha, again, what's the best way to recover? And just so you guys know, I'm just coming in the order that these come in.
Right. So. And if you can capture them, and we can try to answer them all after this as well.
Yeah, we'll do. And I'll share in just a few minutes, I'll share contact info. Sure. So you guys can find us. What's the best way to recover from the first review on a new product? For the first review on a new product that's a 1-star review, product is dead in the water problem.
Oh, man. Well, it depends on what the review says. So there is, when I was at Amazon, we did have data that showed that, products with only a 1-star review still outperformed products with no reviews. So that's good. But if it's a review that is actually like, this is a horrible product, that's tough. I think that what you need to do is you need to be careful about, you can respond, but you need to be careful. You need to read the review. Like I had a brand that launched a product, and the consumer's review was pretty harsh. It was just like, this is bland and I don't like it. Like, not much you can do there, because what are you going to do? Respond and say, I can send you another one? And they're like, okay, you're going to send me another one of something I don't like? So I think that it comes back to that launch standard. Like, is this something, when you look at that review, first and foremost, don't take it personally, and take action against it in terms of future products or the current product. Is there something you can do to fix the product? Like, is the consumer's review legitimate in terms of like, yeah, we missed that, we shouldn't have done it. And if it is a bad review, maybe if it is bad and it's something that you're like not going to be able to recover from, you might just cut your losses and move on.
Okay. So again,
don't do anything that you could jeopardize your selling account.
Okay. This is Simcha again. In what cases does SPF, I think she might be SFP, seller fulfilled prime, actually make sense? If some failure point happens that's not in your control, will Amazon shut you down? So we're talking act of God stuff, natural disaster, tech failure, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So, so those sorts of things, Amazon will shut you down because, you can read the weather reports, and you can see them. They usually put weather notices up saying like, hey, if you think that you can't fulfill this listing, you might want to make your inventory inactive. So if there's any concern that that's going to happen, weather the storm, literally, and then put your listings back up. SFP is not a backup. It's so complicated. It's expensive. It's going to get more challenging with the 1-day prime. It's not a backup. It's either, you've got a product that fits the mold for SFP. So it's hazmat, and even hazmat is something where, it's going to be challenging because, you can't do that overnight. So it's got to go ground to that local area. So SFP is not, a backup for like, oh, let's flip it from SFP from Prime to SFP. The program's on hold right now also. At least it was last time I checked.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we'll get one or two more questions.
Sure.
This is Wyatt. Wyatt, this is a good one. Have you heard or seen many success stories of sellers utilizing Amazon Project Zero to remove counterfeit product?
No, I haven't. I haven't talked to a lot of people about it, and I haven't seen or heard success stories yet. So I think it's a little too new.
Mm-hmm. And it's still somewhat in not beta, but invitation only.
Yeah.
Do you have any of your brands that you've gotten involved in it yet?
We don't. Knock wood. We don't have. We've done a pretty good job of helping our brands with their distribution and going upstream around overseas stuff. I have a couple that I think are going to get on the radars and things.
Okay. All right. Let's get back here. Let's see. Dylan has some more questions with his situation with his brand. He is brand registered, and he's got
content.
His content. Yeah. Should I make changes on the vendor side? Will this ensure my changes go through?
So if you've got a Vendor Central account and you've got a Seller Central account, what I would try to do, there's a couple things you can do. So you can create new listings through the Seller Central. So maybe create parent-child, update the vendor content, and then attach to that. But that's a bad. I don't like that, because what it still doesn't address the issue. What you want to have is total control of your content. There's a couple of things to recognize though. Like, if it's bad content, like really, really bad, then push on it. Mm-hmm. If it's good content is important. But it's not the be all end all in terms of like, it's going to help increase your conversion from 10 to 15%. But don't get too hung up on it. If it's bad and it's old and it's out of date, then yeah, you need to get that taken care of. If it's just like, you're trying to update something here or there and it's just not going and it's just bugging you, look at the conversion rates. So that's where I would be focused on. I would be looking at the data. and have a good understanding of how the traffic is and what the conversion rate is on it, and then focus on that perspective. If you update the content through Vendor Central, then that contribution is still going to come from Amazon, and you're still going to have a difficult time overriding it in the future. So existing ASINs that have been there for a while, maybe you update, just live with the content through Vendor Central. New ASINs, you go through Seller Central, and you don't let anyone touch it except for you.
Cool. All right, I'm going to jump to a screen share real quick. So I'm going to give you guys my contact info in case you want to talk to me at some point. But also, you can find Peter. He's at 180commerce.com.
That's it. Contact us.
I'm going to go to this contact page.
You can go through there. You can also email me. It's pk@180commerce.com. So it's just 180commerce.com. But you can also do that, or info@.
Info. So info, you can replace that info with PK and get him. And then also you can reach me if you want to at Kate@AmazonInsiderPodcast.com. I guess reach out and let me know if you guys like this.
This is the first one, right?
Yeah, I thought I had a lot of fun, but is this a format you guys enjoyed? Is this something you want to see more of? And I guess let me know too, how often would you want us to do something like this? We're going to do something fun on Facebook on Prime Day, P-Day. Prime Day, do something on Facebook Live, just kind of talking about our perspective and what we're seeing happening that day. But you guys, thank you so much. This was awesome. Thank you for giving us all the questions and making it so that Peter and I are not just chatting for an hour, which we often do anyways. But it's probably a little more boring because we tend to get off subject quite a bit. But thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
PK@180commerce.com or Kate@AmazonInsiderPodcast.com. And we will talk to you guys all later.